Dana White has officially joined Facebook, aka Meta's board of directors. What does this mean for the future of Facebook? Also, Bo Nickal believes he's a better grappler than Khamzat Chimaev. Just ridiculous. This past Monday, WWE was on Netflix. What did you think about that? We're going to break that down. Also, UFC Seattle has been announced for February 22nd, both the main event and the co-main. We'll get those to you here in a moment. And then also Islam Makhachev finally responds to the Nate Diaz water bottle incident. We got all these topics and more next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA Podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege.
What up? This is your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TC MMA podcast. And a lot has happened since we last spoke to you a few days ago, especially with the recent announcement for UFC Seattle. Let's see if you're interested or not. But UFC Seattle will go down on February 22nd. It'll feature Henry Cejudo. That's right. 2-fight losing streak. Henry Cejudo takes on Song Yadong. And that's like 7 versus 8 in the bantamweight division. So we now have 6 main events announced already for 2025. Dern versus Rivas coming up this Saturday. Islam versus Arman the following week. That's the rematch for the lightweight title this time. Adesanya Mavov, Duplessis versus Strickland. That one for the middleweight title. Then you got Cannonier versus Rodriguez, and then finally Cejudo versus Song. 4 other cards have been announced throughout March, but no main events have been announced as of the airing of this show. So that's what it looks like. And what do you think about that? Cejudo versus Song. I mean, does that even matter? I guess for the loser, it really matters. For the winner, you just get another opportunity at a big fight going forward. Co-main event, Rob Font versus Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz saying, I want one more. Everybody wants one more fight. But what if you win that fight? Then what happens? Because now you're ranked in the top 10 again. Do you really walk out when you're ranked in the top 10? So I don't always believe this, the hype of this is the final fight. It really depends on how the fight goes. And when guys come in and say, hey, this is my last fight, and they get like a first round KO, it's funny how we see these guys back in the octagon once again.
What I'm freaking talking about, bro.
That's right. This is my last fight. And then 2 months later, you see him again.
Wow.
You know, for some guys, it's like, oh, God, I don't want to see them fight again. And for other guys,
Yes! Yes!
I mean, it's exciting, right? So how do you feel about Donald the Cowboy Cerrone's comeback? Do you like it?
Yes!
I don't know. For what? I mean, to me, if guys aren't fighting for the title anymore, I start to lose interest, right? If you're not fighting for the title anymore, I lose interest. Henry Cejudo's a guy that could still fight for the title. And I know what you're thinking. Have you lost it today, Chris Cross? Have you lost your mind? I'm not saying he's going to, but I'm saying he's still in the mix. He's still in the mix of fighting for the title. And there's a lot of guys in the mix in that division.
Sugar Show, baby! Woo!
Yeah, we think Sean O'Malley's coming back this year in the bantamweight.
I love the Sugar Show.
Sir.
I love the Sugar Show.
Yeah, Sean O'Malley is not done in this division. So, I mean, that's what you got at UFC Seattle. A pair of good fights there. And anytime we get out of the Apex Center, you know, UFC Vegas 101, 102, 103, all that, it's exciting because you know there's going to be a big crowd there and sold out in Seattle for sure. So the big news today, since we spoke to you last, and we're about a day behind on this, but we haven't been on the podcast since this news broke, and that's Dana White is joining Facebook, aka Meta's board of directors. And don't you love how these companies are switching names, like Twitter became X and Facebook is Meta and still Facebook, but it's Meta too. It's confusing. But you've seen a complete 180 by Mark Zuckerberg. And, you can break this down in many ways, right? Because of all the censorship and things that were going on, uh, over really the last, 4 to 6 years, a lot of people getting kicked off, including the incoming president, Donald Trump, was kicked off. And now that Trump's coming back in, you've seen a complete 180 by Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. And a part of me is like, too little, too late. The other part of me is like, all right, at least you're making an effort. At least you're changing with the times. I don't always like that because then it's like, well, 4 years later, it could be go back the other way again. But I think also we got to keep in mind that social media is still relatively new. If you're growing up right now and you're like 20 or under, this stuff has almost been around since you've been born or since you can last remember. For the rest of us that are a little bit older, we live without it, and now we have it. So we remember a time when this stuff wasn't around. And long story short, this stuff is evolving still. And, you're going to go through ups and downs and, curvy roads before this thing hits the straightaway highway. But, this is just changing with the times. Dana White joining the board doesn't change much. It just gives him a voice, right? And you already kind of know what he's going to be saying in there. Let people talk. If it's not causing violence and those type of things, let people say what they're going to say, and let the community sort it out, right? Not fact checkers, but the community. So, and then you got to get into, Trump is a huge UFC fan. He shows up to the event. So him and Dana White are tight. Dana White speaking at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, I think the last 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, and all of which Trump has been the leading candidate. So there's a close friendship there. Mark Zuckerberg has really dove deep into MMA, not because of all this, just because he likes it. And now, he's starting to get around not different people, but other people, right? He's not stuck in that bubble. He's getting around other people. Time is evolving, and so will Mark Zuckerberg. And, if you look at the trend based on age, and this goes for myself as well, it's not like you become total conservative as you get older, but you definitely, even if you're far left or, deep liberal, you always move to the, you start to, not always, but as you get older, a lot of people move toward the center and even on, more to the conservative side. You don't leave behind the social views of liberalism, but you definitely start moving closer and closer to the center. And I think you see that as people get older. Most of the young folks, and again, this isn't all, but I'm saying if you look at the trend, most young folks are more liberal, more left. As you get older and money becomes a factor in your life, you start to slide to the center in terms of economic and monetary values and things of that nature. So you're starting to see that from Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I'm not even sure how old Zuckerberg is now. I'm saying young, but he's probably 40s, 50s. So he's starting to move more towards the center, and you see that. Yeah, he's 40 years old. So he's right about that age. And you see like Elon Musk, 53. These guys are not becoming total conservatives, but it's exactly what the conservative side wants, is you want to get these guys in the middle. Let's bring the Republican right wing, whatever you want to call it, let's bring that closer to the middle. I mean, Trump was more of a Democrat 10, 15 years ago. And now he slid more to the middle, a little bit to the right in some areas. But, this is what happens. And really everything is coming to the middle. And that's what I like. Even if it's for 4 years, things are coming to the middle. And you're going to start seeing a change with Facebook and Twitter. It's back to the early days where you say what you want and the community will filter it out. Please believe it. I mean, just on this podcast, we see in the comments all the time, if we're slightly wrong on something, people jump on it, man. And that's what the community is there for. That's why there's a comment section. So it's interesting that Dana White joins Meta's board, but it's just a sign of the times. Bo Nickal believes he's a better grappler than Khamzat Chimaev. Let me say this again. Bo Nickal believes he's a better grappler than Khamzat Chimaev.
Ooh-wee.
I just can't believe. I mean, are you serious, Bo Nickal? Are you serious?
Whoa.
Khamzat Chimaev would absolutely destroy you on the ground. I mean, he would pick you up, toss you around, have his way with you. And if your last fight is any indication, you're not even on the same planet as Khamzat Chimaev.
Whoa.
I mean, you shouldn't even be able to bring his name up right now. The last fight did not go well. I mean, the last fight didn't go well at all. Barely won. While at the same time talking about the gas tank. People keep talking about Khamzat Chimaev's gas tank, and the bottom line is you don't need a gas tank if you're just demolishing people. In the 2 fights he needed a gas tank, yeah, he started to fall apart, but if you go back and look at that 3rd round against Gilbert Burns, both of those guys were going at it. I mean, yeah, they're slowing down, but you're talking about 60-plus significant strikes apiece in that round. So tell me Khamzat's slowing down. You know, he's only getting better, and he's with different coaching and management now. I mean, all that's not management, but different coaching, trainers, things of that nature. So I don't think the gas tank should be a question at this point in time. But if you're just simply talking about grappling, okay, Bo Nickal has some skills in wrestling, but Khamzat just demolishes him. I'm just telling you right now, it's not even close. This past Monday, WWE finally entered the world of Netflix, and I was really excited about this because about a year ago, maybe a little more, actually, was it this past summer? It might have been just 6-7 months ago. Went to the local WWE was in town. We went, and really excited. I grew up as a diehard WWF fan, right? Wrestling. 15, 20 years, last 15, 20 years, haven't really been into it. But now that it's back on Netflix, I was really excited. And I was really excited about the women's title fight the other night. And we really thought Rhea Ripley would steal the belt. She did. And again, steal the belt means if the contender wins. So relax. Don't jump on me this morning. Relax. Rhea Ripley stole the belt. And you look over the last 2 years, hasn't lost to anybody but Liv Morgan. So I expected her to take the belt. And it makes things interesting now going forward towards WrestleMania because you know we're going to have a big fight there. Huge fight. Who's the next in line to take on Rhea Ripley in the women's division? Do they have anybody, or could this be the beginning of a long reign by Rhea Ripley, who's arguably one of the most popular women's fighters or women's wrestlers in the world? But yeah, I'm back. I don't know about, SmackDown. Is it Thursday or Friday? Maybe we'll watch a big pay-per-view event, depending if UFC's on. I know they try to schedule around each other slightly. Like SummerSlam's coming up. I'll be able to catch that. Not SummerSlam, but Royal Rumble, which is always was one of my favorites. When you got 30 guys headed into the ring and only one guy standing. I mean, that's exciting. So yeah, I think I'm coming back to wrestling. I might have to start getting into the predictions and talking about it a little bit on the podcast. But WWE is huge, and you've already seen now that they're on Netflix. It was like #1 that night. WWE Raw was the #1 hashtag almost the entire night. So it just opens it up to a new group of people. You're starting to see some people have cable, some people have the app, some people have both, but it's starting to slide in the direction of the apps. And now that they've given the rights to Netflix, a lot more viewers can tune in. I'm very excited to see or eager to see who the UFC gives its rights to going forward. Will they stay with ESPN? Will they move to Netflix, something like that? Will some of it stay with ESPN, like the fight nights and the pay-per-view goes somewhere else? It's gonna be interesting to see. But when you look at wrestling, part of it's with Netflix, part of it's on the USA Network. Then you got the pay-per-views in a different place, so you got all this stuff going on. And I don't want to see the UFC break up like that, but it is interesting. And hopefully, over the next 5 to 10 years, wrestling becomes a thing you can watch on the apps all the time. So Islam Makhachev finally discuss the Nate Diaz incident, and this went down at UFC 310, right? So Nate Diaz is there. Islam Makhachev is promoting UFC 311, so they're in the same place at the same time. And Islam Makhachev explains, in the elevator. I'm not sure if it was this weekend or a few weeks before, or when it was, but Nate Diaz just reached over to him and said, "Respect, respect." And then Islam says, then when the cameras are on, all of a sudden there's this big incident. Water bottles are thrown. He doesn't even know uh, what happened or why it went down. So basically, he's absolving himself of any responsibility for that incident. And you look at Nate Diaz, and he's involved in incidents with everybody. So on some level, you got to give a little credibility to Islam. What does he care about Nate Diaz? Nate Diaz is the one that needs to stay in the limelight, whether it be through boxing or a UFC return or whatever, but time is running out. And if you see the champion and the cameras are on, yeah, you go crazy. Because if you do win a fight or two, then people start talking about, hey, let Nate Diaz fight for the title. I mean, it's far-fetched, but you just never know. You got to keep all your options open. And I tend to believe Islam here. When the cameras are on, suddenly Nate Diaz is a different person. I mean, is that hard to believe? Is it hard to believe that Nate Diaz would act different when the cameras are on than when nobody's around? It's not hard to believe at all. I mean, I could see Nate Diaz doing that. I mean, it's just constant friction, constant. Something's always happening with Nate Diaz when the cameras are on. Love the guy. I love the guy. I'm just saying. I tend to have to go with Islam in this scenario, and could be dead wrong. Don't know. But I got to take Islam's word for it that he doesn't even know how it transpired. It just seems like it was something that was created, and I tend to stick with him on it. So that's what's going on in the world of the UFC right now. I'm stuck in the third day of being snowed in here, West Virginia, major snowstorm all through the Northeast, and just snowed in. So we're pumping out the predictions and spending a lot of time working, really, over the last couple of days, even though it's working from the house. Gotta love it. But listen, for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Give yourself access to future videos. We will be back with more throughout the week, but we're headed closer and closer to Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas too. So stay tuned for that this Saturday night. The countdown is on, and what are we? 1, 2, 3. We're about 70 plus hours from the fight. So UFC is back. I cannot wait. But for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.